Let's talk a bit about Chantel and Katie. I watched an interview with Eddie the other day, and things have gone a bit quiet on the trilogy front. He sort of basically hinted that the ball's with Chantel and yourself and her team's court. What is the hold-up in getting this trilogy fight over the line?
I've no idea, to be honest with you. Me and Chantel aren't working together anymore, so we've just decided to go our separate ways, and we haven't fell out or anything like that. I wish her all the best. I'll always love her. We had a great ride together, but we're not working together now, so I've no idea what's going on.
So it appears that what was an otherwise productive relationship between Chantel Cameron and Jamie Moore and Nigel
Travis
has come to an end. In Chantel Cameron's own words, a new chapter. I firstly want to express my thanks and gratitude to Jamie Moore and Nigel Travis for everything they have done for me in my career. We have had an amazing run together, and I will always be grateful to them both. I love them both to pieces. I have decided to relocate to Steel City Gym, where Dalton Smith trains, Sonny Edwards, now Chantel Cameron, and I will now be trained by Grant Smith in Sheffield, and I am excited for what lies ahead. But Jamie and Nigel will always have a special place in my heart. We have made some truly incredible memories together, and this move is no reflection to the professionalism and love I have received from Jamie and Nigel. The move is for a number of reasons, and to make the most of this short career with no regrets, and I just want to add more tools and knowledge to the already exceptional training I have received from Jamie. This won't be the first time that Chantel Cameron switched trainers. Many years ago, back when she was with Cyclone Promotions, Barry McGuigan and his son Shane, she was trained by Shane, and she ended up leaving the McGuigan gym on the premise that they didn't seem to have time for a female boxer, in her own words. You fast forward, and now Shane is training two female boxers, Caroline Dubois and Ellie Scottney. But that's what she said at the time. It felt like Shane and the people at the McGuigan gym didn't have time for a female boxer. Enter Nigel Travis and Jamie Moore. And she was with them for a number of years, had a lot of success. So it's strange to see her now leave ahead of what could be a Katie Taylor rubber match, a Katie Taylor trilogy. She left Nigel and Jamie under far more amicable terms than she left Shane McGuigan, though all the same, she left. Was that the right move? That is a story that only time can tell, because if she does go straight into another Katie Taylor fight, she will go into it experimenting with a new corner, new trainer, new style. Should she really be experimenting ahead of a fight like this? I saw a Twitter user that goes by the name Boxale Pat say, Matchroom were to blame, judges were to blame, the referee was to blame. Nobody believes any of the above, so now the poor trainers are to blame. But Chantel, she doesn't seem to be blaming Jamie and Nigel for anything that happens. Maybe she just believes that she needs more. She needs something extra, something new, if she is to face Katie Taylor again. What caught my attention is that she said, the move is for a number of reasons, and to make the most of this short career. If Chantel Cameron loses, if she loses again, is she going to retire? I like Chantel. I don't think she should retire if she loses to Katie Taylor again. There are still other big fights out there for her. Consider the winner of Ryan versus Harper up there at welterweight for what is Sandy Ryan's WBO title. Even if Chantel loses to Katie in a third fight, she can always move up. She can always fight the winner of that fight, and there's no shame in losing to Katie Taylor. Is she courting the idea? Is she thinking about retiring? She is some years younger than Katie Taylor, so retiring at this age, it's really not necessary, and there still are other big fights and other big nights out there for Chantel Cameron. A fight with the winner of Ryan versus Harper, perhaps a Michaela Mayer fight. Still money to make. I don't know, maybe she figures that she's already fought Katie Taylor 2 times, and she may fight her a third, and that really is the biggest fight in the sport right now with the biggest name, Katie Taylor. If she fights her 3 times, maybe she will have made enough money that she can retire comfortably. Yeah. Though I don't think she should. She's still young. Don't you think you're reading a little bit too much into this? Well, it's her choice of words. She doesn't want to have any regrets in this quote-unquote short career. It sounds like she's thinking about cutting it short. I hope she doesn't.
I love Chantel Cameron.
And she loves me.
No, she doesn't.
It's hard to say what the strategy is going to be in a potential third fight with Katie Taylor. What does she need to do? What does she need to change? More of what we saw in the first fight, coming forward, stepping into the jab, and being aggressive, dominating Katie Taylor in the pocket because she's bigger and younger and stronger?
Rematches are often won by the fighter who can change. The fighter who can make the most adjustments. Katie Taylor made those adjustments in the second fight. She decided to stay in the pocket a little more, use her hand speed, her combinations, because mid-range to inside, she still is faster than Chantel, even if she's not stronger.
In the first fight, where she went wrong was she spent too much time giving up ground, giving up real estate to an advancing Chantel Cameron, who was only gaining momentum as a result of that. It wasn't until she stood her ground and let her hands go in the pocket that she was able to have some success. That's how she won the second fight.
So how does Chantel Cameron plan on winning the third?
Changing trainer seems to be a part of it.
Doesn't really make sense. If you're looking to cash him out, then you do it in a big. On one hand, he's not fighting the guys that are cashing him out, and then he's not fighting credible enough opposition. But then when you take that leap, you're cashing him out. I mean, you can't really win either way. He's in a position to fight. When you've got his profile, you can fight for a world title at any time. You don't need to build and fight irrelevant names to get yourself in mandatory positions because no one will fight him. You've seen from social media reaction, everyone wants to fight Conor Benn.
He's not wrong. In recent weeks, we've seen anyone from Gervonta Davis to Mario Barrios to Danny Garcia express an interest in facing Conor Benn. Now, what do you think that is?
Because he didn't look nothing too spectacular in a Dobson fight, but the kid's worth some money.
Former two-division champion Danny Garcia wants Conor Benn at 154 in the United Kingdom. There ain't no bigger name than me. Bear in mind, this is a guy who never found the time to fight Terence Crawford down there at 147 for the WBO title.
But he's willing to fight Conor Benn in the UK for no title.
Former two-division champion Danny Garcia has stepped up to the plate and called out Benn for a potential clash. I would love to fight him at 154, Garcia told YSM Sports Media. That makes great sense. He wants to fight a big name, Garcia versus Benn. There ain't no bigger fight than fighting Danny Garcia, so I would love that fight. Stylistically, that's a great fight for me. And that's a fight that I would love at 154, not at 147. They already know what time it is. I don't duck, no smoke. I'm about to change my middle name from Swift to Smoke.
Read between the lines.
Why would a guy who rejected a $3 million guarantee with a pay-per-view upside to fight Terence Crawford years ago, why would that same guy be willing to travel to the UK to box Conor Benn for no title at all, no belt?
Why?
It's because of how Conor Benn looked in his last fight. He got the job done, he did, but that knockout power, it wasn't there. And Ben didn't look nothing too spectacular. Conor Benn's last two fights have taken place in the United States. If the price is right, I would go anywhere to fight Benn, said Garcia. I watched the Dobson fight. I thought he did good. Dobson was gritty, though. He fought. He had skills. Garcia, a 35-year-old fighter from Philadelphia, has been mostly inactive in recent years, having fought just once since losing to Errol Spence Jr. in 2020.
He's shit.
Garcia beat Jose Benavidez Jr. via a majority decision in July of 2022. Following the victory, a tearful Garcia opened up to share that he'd been struggling with constipation for years.
That's rough. That isn't what that says. It says mental health issues.
Danny's not the only one that's interested in boxing Conor Benn. Bob Santos, who trains Mario Barrios, admits Benn is just as difficult as Jaron Ennis for an underrated Mario Barrios.
You believe that?
No, I believe he's talking up Conor Benn because they're thinking about fighting him. Bob Santos sees Conor Benn versus Mario Barrios as a difficult fight and perhaps just as tough as one against undefeated IBF welterweight champion Jaron Ennis. Barrios, who holds the WBC interim welterweight world title, was called out by Benn after subpar performance against Pete Dobson at the start of February. From this perspective, going overseas is no easy task, Santos said. I've done it many times. We've had Robert Guerrero go fight in Denmark against Spend Abazi to win a world title. Winning a world championship overseas is no easy task. So, when you put it in that perspective, what you have to overcome going to England, having an entire country against you, it's not an easy task.
What is he really saying?
Do you notice that both Danny Garcia and Bob Santos, Mario Barrios' trainer, do you notice that they're willing to fight Conor Benn, but they're not just willing to fight him, they're willing to travel to do it?
Why?
Because UK women are hot, and everybody knows it.
Well, yeah, there's that, but there's also the money associated with a Conor Benn fight. Conor Benn is worth some money in the UK. They know that.
Bob Santos continued, so from that perspective, do I think Boots Ennis is a little bit more talented than Ben? Sure, but when you put it into play overseas, the time zone, the food is different. It is a lot to overcome. Either fight would be a difficult fight, but that is what Mario Barrios has always been about. He's been about challenges.
It's gotta be challenging getting out of bed when you're sleeping next to Elmira.
All fuckery aside, what do Danny Garcia and Mario Barrios have in common? That they're both willing to travel to the United Kingdom to fight Conor Benn, and they're both PBC fighters. The PBC that recently jumped into bed with Amazon, though they don't seem to have very many fight dates to accommodate all of these fighters. Mario Barrios' name, at least for a time, was attached to a potential Jaron Boots Ennis fight.
But the IBF recently ordered Jaron Ennis to satisfy his mandatory challenger, Cody Crowley, ruling him out for Mario Barrios, thus enter Conor Benn.
Since the canceled fight with Chris Eubank Jr., Ben has fought twice in the United States, with both fights ending in decisions. I don't know what happened per se, Santos said, of Ben's out-of-the-ring woes. I don't want to comment or talk about somebody that I have no knowledge about. I don't know what the testing was. I don't know who did the testing. I don't know the reasoning for different things. It is what it is.
He doesn't want to put his foot in his mouth. He doesn't want to speak out of turn.
It's smart of him not to. Put the past in the past and focus on the future, because the PBC may not be able to accommodate you, but Matchroom can, with Conor Benn. One thing I like about Mario Barrios is he is a guy who never made excuses, Santos added. He is definitely underrated. I'll let the fans be the judge of that. I definitely think Mario is a hard worker. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. Maybe that is biased on my part because I have been with him since his first pro fight. I'll leave it up to the fans to judge, but in my opinion, I would say yeah, that's the fact that he's underrated.
The Mario Barrios fight is a more winnable fight for Conroy than the Danny Garcia fight. Stylistically, Danny's a counterpuncher. He waits for the other guy to walk into his shot so he can let go of those counters.
Conor just so happens to be a very aggressive fighter. Danny is more experienced than Conor, more experienced than Mario comparatively,
albeit older,
and less active. But if you're Eddie Hearn and you have to choose between Danny and Mario, the Mario Barrios fight is the more winnable fight and the cheaper alternative, because Danny's going to want a lot of money.
Danny still thinks it's 2013.
But he wants to assume the role of a gatekeeper. But that's what Danny Garcia is. He's a gatekeeper and an active one. He sat out all of last year. He hasn't boxed since the summer of 2022.
So Barrios is a more winnable fight. I think a more attractive option.
But I could go for either one. I could go for either fight. I like either fight for Conor Benn. And the virtue of Mario is that he might bring Elmira.
How's the Mario Barrios fight break down stylistically?
Well, that's a shootout. That would be a fan-friendly fight. That would be a fan-friendly fight because both Mario and Conor, they're aggressive fighters. They like to step into their punches and rip combinations.
They wouldn't have to find each other in there.
It's more winnable for Conor Benn, whereas with Danny, he does have to mind the counters. He does have to be careful when he's stringing shots together.
But I could go for either fight.
They both seem to want the fight in the UK, where Conor Benn is worth some money. Conor Benn boxing in the UK would be contingent upon him getting the BBBOC's approval, getting a license.
Can he do that?
Well, I heard 1 or 2 days ago that the BBBOC and their appeal process with the NADP, who lifted Conor Benn's suspension, all of that was supposed to be coming to a head soon. BBBOC said that so long as the appeal process was ongoing, they would not approve Conor Benn to box in the UK, but all of that is supposed to be coming to a head, coming to an end.
For better or worse.
But I like these options for Conor Benn in either the United Kingdom or the United States. Another interesting component of what could be a Conor Benn versus Mario Barrios fight is Benn has moved up in the WBC's rankings. Currently, Conor Benn has now moved up 2 spots from number 5 up to number 3 in the World Boxing Council's welterweight rankings after the Pete Dobson fight that wasn't at welterweight.
It was fought at junior middle, just above welter.
But he still moved up the ranks, up from number 5 to number 3. The WBC champion is Terrence Crawford, who we all know Conor's not ready for. The interim champion, however, is Mario Barrios. World Boxing Council number 1, Cody Crowley.
Jaron Ennis has just been ordered by the IBF to satisfy him as his mandatory challenger, so that rules him out if he does take that fight. He might.
Ranked at number 2 is Souleymane Sissoko, unbeaten up-and-comer Souleymane Sissoko, who is also with Matchroom. I don't think Souleymane Sissoko will be a problem. If it comes down to making a fight between Conor and Mario, I think Matchroom will do what they have to do to get Souleymane out of the way.
Stylistically, that's a lot more frustrating fight for Conor than a fight with Mario. With Mario, you don't have to find him, but with Souleymane?
He's a pure boxer, a moving target, a long and limber fighter that can box from the outside, that can create a frustrating night for Conor Benn. Stylistically, that's a more frustrating fight and a less fan-friendly fight with a less familiar face.
They're not going to let him get in the way.
So can we interpret movement in the World Boxing Council's rankings as the wheels being in motion behind the scenes to make a Conor Benn versus Mario Barrios fight? If the WBC were to order that fight right now, in spite of Conor Benn being ranked behind Souleymane Sissoko,
Can they do that?
they've done it before. Back when Deontay Wilder was WBC champion, they ordered him to fight Dominic Breazeale as his mandatory challenger in spite of Dominic being ranked behind Dillian White. They don't abide by their own rank standings. They may be in numerical order,
But they do what they want.
they make the rules up as they go, so it's possible that they might order Mario Barrios to defend his interim title against Conor Benn.
And if they do that,
I believe that Conor Benn is worth more to Matchroom than Mario Barrios is to the PBC. So that could create a situation where it goes to purse bid. And if it goes to purse bid, it's going to be Matchroom's wallet versus the PBC's wallet. And what's the PBC's wallet looking like these days? Didn't they lose the purse bid? The IBF purse bid at junior middleweight for Murtazaliev versus Kolkay. Didn't they lose the rights to that fight to Aegon Sports, Kolkay's promoters?
they did.
How much are they willing to put up to ensure that a Barrios versus Benn fight, theoretically, ends up on their side and not the DAZN side of things?
Assuming it comes to that, assuming the WBC orders the fight, they can't reach a deal, it goes to a purse bid.
You're getting ahead of yourself. Bob Santos said they'd be willing to go to the UK for that fight. I'd wager that means they'd be willing to do that fight on the Matchroom side of things.
For the right price.
You don't go to the UK to box on the PBC side of things, do you? Does the PBC do shows in the UK?
They did once.
Just one. What was the Chris Eubank Jr. versus James DeGale fight? Big flop, which is neither here nor there. If they're saying this now, here today in 2024, that they'd be willing to go to the UK, I don't think it's because they're expecting the PBC to be the ones that do the show.
Wells running dry at the PBC?
And maybe that's why they're saying they're willing to travel.
Maybe.